Life with Mia was like walking on a tightrope, balancing between the joys and challenges of motherhood. But everything changed on that fateful Tuesday when my Karen grandma takes away my baby, 'cause I'm not good enough to be a mom. Here's how it all went down. Before Mia, my days were filled with the quiet of the library, the familiar scent of books, my constant companion. Ethan, with grease on his hands and a smile on his face, would come home with tales of stubborn engines and tougher bolts, but nothing, and I mean nothing compared to the enigma that was our daughter. Karen was a staple in our small town. Her reputation as the local pie-baking, advice-giving, everyone knows her kind of lady was well-earned. The day Mia was born, Karen declared herself Grandma-in-Chief, a title she seemed to take more seriously than the president. But then that Tuesday happened. I was in our living room, Mia on my lap, trying to decipher the secrets of baby babble, when Karen stormed in like a hurricane on legs. "You don't deserve your kid," she accused, with more drama than a daytime soap opera. I was frozen, Mia in my arms, caught between confusion and outrage. "What the heck, Karen?" Her eyes were stormy, her stance confrontational. "Since you went back to work, you might as well be a stranger to Mia." "Karen, it's only half days at the library, and Ethan's great with her," I said, trying to keep the peace. "It should be you," she snapped back, as if the very idea of Ethan being a capable father was preposterous. Karen started showing up unannounced, her suggestions about Mia's care taking on a tone that edged closer to commandments. Then came her masterstroke, offering to take Mia for the night, insisting I needed rest. It felt off, but exhaustion and Karen's iron will were a potent mix. I packed Mia's tiny bag, not knowing it would be the start of a week-long siege. When I asked for Mia back, Karen had a fortress of excuses ready, each one more elaborate than the last. Alarm bells rang when Karen's phone just rang and rang. My mind raced with nightmarish scenarios as I drove to her house. The door seemed to groan on its hinges when I knocked, my heart pounding out of my chest. "I'm taking my daughter home, Karen," I said, my voice steady despite the quake inside. Karen, with Mia on her hip, blocked the doorway. "You? Take care of her, don't make me laugh." The words stung, but I stood my ground. "She needs her mother. She needs stability," Karen retorted, as if the word mother was synonymous with chaos. Our standoff was a cold war of wills. Eventually Karen relented, but the air was thick with her contempt as she handed Mia back to me. "Fine, but when you fail, don't come crying to me." I wish I could say things got better, but Karen was relentless. She badmouthed me to anyone who'd listen, spreading tales of my supposed incompetence. Our once peaceful home felt like a battleground. Ethan was a rock, but even rocks can erode under constant assault. Friends started to look at me with doubt in their eyes, a testament to Karen's influence. Mia, blissfully unaware, continued to be the joy and challenge of every day, but Karen's shadow loomed large. I could feel her watching, waiting for me to slip up. So here we are. My mother-in-law, the self-appointed matriarch, thinks she knows best. Every day is a test. I lock horns with Karen more than I'd like to admit. Ethan tries to mediate, but it's like trying to stop a forest fire with a garden hose. Life's not a fairy tale, and not all endings are happy. I'm holding on to Mia, to my little family, with everything I have. But with Karen in the picture, it's less of a hold and more of a vice grip. She's made it clear she's not backing down, and neither am I. Because that's motherhood, isn't it? A love so fierce you'll stand against the world, or an overbearing grandma, to protect your own. So, this is my life now. Me, Mia, and Karen, locked in a dance that none of us knows the steps to. It's exhausting, it's maddening, and it's mine. I can't believe Karen would think she knows best for someone else's child. Good on you for standing up for yourself and your little family. Motherhood is tough, but you've got this. Stay strong and keep fighting against the odds, sending love and support your way. I thought I found the love of my life, my perfect fiancé, until a series of messages shattered my world. They warned me about a dark secret from his past, a monstrous high school persona he had hidden so well. As the evidence piled up, I couldn't ignore the horrifying truth any longer. Here's how it all went down. Okay, everyone, so I met my fiancé 5 years ago. At the time, I thought he was perfect. He's handsome, kind, funny, and has a stable job as a police officer. He has treated me incredibly well since we met. It all started when he stopped me for speeding and ended up getting my number. Things were going smoothly. However, looking back now, I should have noticed some red flags, like his family and old friends joking about his temper and rebellious days in high school. Now, I'm even questioning if my cat really ran away or if he made him disappear. I apologize for rambling. Let me tell you what happened recently. We had an engagement party in his hometown a few days ago, and shortly after I received a Facebook message warning me about my fiancé. The message claimed that he was a monster in high school. Initially, I thought it was just someone trolling, but as the day went on, I received 5 more messages, one of them being from his cousin. I asked his cousin for proof because in my naive mind, I thought this was all a joke. After all, My fiancé is an amazing person and a cop, for God's sake. His cousin told me to give him a few hours. Well, about 2 hours ago, my world turned upside down. I was added to a group chat with a lot of proof. I've seen videos, heard stories, and seen screenshots. Even a memorial page of one of his victims, suicide at 16. Guys, this was horror movie level shit, from threats, assault, both physically sexual, lots of misogyny and homophobia. Even one of him harming person's dog. While the kid screamed as my fiancé laughed, he looked about 18 in the video. The stories I heard both broke my heart and scared me, and I don't know what to do. Maybe he has changed? Should I confront him? Should I give him a chance to tell his side? I spoke to his cousin and asked why they never took any action despite having videos. He replied, "Haven't you considered that we tried years ago? Life isn't a fairy tale. The bad guy doesn't always face justice. Your future in-laws and fiancé made sure that everything was always swept under the rug." I then asked, "Why now? Tell me." He was honest. They, him, and other victims wanted to warn me out of concern, but mostly out of a desire for revenge, because it's not fair for him to have a happy life after what he did to them. I asked if he knew if my fiancé ever did anything like anger management or therapy after high school. He said he did. And I asked, does he think my fiancé changed? He said, while he isn't like his high school self anymore, people like him never truly change. I asked him if I decided to leave, would he help me? He said he would, but we would need to make a plan that can't lead back to him for his safety. Okay, I'll address some of the points that have been raised. I can't 100% say he harmed my cat because my cat liked to escape and wander the neighborhood. People keep asking me why I didn't see any red flags in 5 years, but I didn't notice them at the time. The origins of our relationship often raise eyebrows and prompt warnings of red flags from friends and onlookers. But let's be candid. Back then, my younger self found a certain charm in the story. The day I charmingly talked my way out of a traffic ticket, I was also struck by the officer's undeniable charisma. In my naivety, I imagined this tale as a whimsical anecdote to one day share with our grandchildren. After all, I hail from a place where the presence of the police doesn't invoke the same trepidation as it often does in the United States. He's aware of my online post, and recently his text arrived with a weighty, "We need to talk," words that can unsettle even the strongest heart. Physically, I'm enduring a bit of pain in my legs from a necessary sprint earlier, but please know that I'm currently safe and in the company of someone I trust implicitly. I've managed a phone conversation with my fiancé, and I plan to provide an update after we've discussed things more thoroughly. For the moment, I prefer to keep my exact location private, though I will share in due time how he came across my post. A small oversight on my part, a detail too specific, tipped off someone we know who in turn informed him. In the midst of this, I've luckily found my passport, which had gone missing in a recent flurry of reorganization. He also dropped a worrying comment about rehoming my cat with a coworker. That's a reality I'm not ready to accept without concrete evidence. What a roller coaster of emotions. People can hide their true selves, and it's essential to trust your instincts and investigate any red flags. Stay strong and take care of yourself. I was assigned the daunting task of planning the office Halloween event at my new law firm, and as a young assistant fresh out of college, the pressure was on. Little did I know that my seemingly innocent plans would draw disappointment and disapproval from the partner in charge. With office morale at stake, I had to navigate the tension and salvage the event. Here's how it all went down. I was recently hired in an assistant role at a law firm fresh out of college. In comparison to other people in the office, excluding the other assistants, I'm pretty young, 22 years old. One of the partners put me in charge of the office Halloween party, so I've been planning everything for about 2 weeks. What I came up with was wearing costumes into the office and an end-of-day EOD party in the decorated spooky conference room where people in the office paint pumpkins as treats, select mystery coffee pods, different flavors, as tricks, and just eat sweet food together while streaming the Charlie Brown special. I got into the office early this morning to decorate the office, and the partner in question got annoyed when she came in and saw what I was doing. Even though I got approval from her, she was disappointed that this is what I went with, described it as incredibly juvenile, and said that I should have gone with something like costumes and going to an office happy hour. She's now confirming with the other assistant in charge of the holiday Christmas party that it is an adult affair, expensive dinner outing, and it seems like I stressed everyone out, and I just feel really embarrassed right now. These office morale activities are important, and now I feel like I'm so deeply in the wrong and screwed everything up. To provide some context before the full update, when I was assigned the task of planning the event, I reached out to the previous person who had this job. She's now in law school. She mentioned that they did pumpkin carving last year, so I decided to switch it up and go with painting to reduce the mess. I also added a fun element of a mystery coffee pod and decorating the office. Before planning the entire event, I obtained approval from the partner. I had to create a budget proposal, so she was aware of the plans. However, she either forgot about it until she saw me decorating or didn't take it seriously. She was also upset because our sister office went out for drinks the day before and she wanted to impress our new partner, who was unfortunately sick and couldn't attend. Regarding the comments about Charlie Brown being juvenile, I agree. However, I plan to play the movie for the second half of the event, which lasted an hour, because another partner mentioned that their 5-year-old daughter, who was visiting from another country, would be attending. My boss, however, expected me to organize a happy hour afterwards, which I didn't do. Anyway, I proceeded with the party and it went really well. I decided not to purchase any alcohol and instead focused on pumpkin painting, Halloween music, candy, fresh-baked cookies, and warm apple cider. Most people enjoyed the mystery coffee pods, with some humorous flavors. The trick. Not everyone in the office attended, including my boss, but about 75% did, with 3 others in costume. Everyone had a decent time. The daughter enjoyed decorating cookies and watching Charlie Brown while waiting for her dad. Overall, I think I'll leave the adult party planning to my slightly older coworker, who is the social butterfly of the office. But I'm just relieved that today wasn't a disaster. It's impressive how the assistant handled the pressure and navigated through the disappointment and disapproval. Despite the initial setbacks, the Halloween event turned out to be a success, bringing together the office members who attended. It's a great reminder that even though plans may not always align with everyone's expectations, the effort and creativity put into organizing such events can still lead to enjoyable experiences. As a seamstress and dress designer, I found myself entangled in a web of family drama when my sister-in-law-to-be demanded a free wedding dress. Little did I know that this simple request would spiral into chaos, with shattered glass, expensive jewelry, and broken relationships. Here's how it all went down. I, a 24-year-old female, work as a seamstress and dress designer on commission for private clients. 2 years ago, I made my sister's wedding dress as a gift, free of charge, and the bridesmaid dresses at the cost of raw materials. The girlfriend of my brother at that time, now his fiancé, was also part of the wedding party and knew about my involvement. Before I even started designing, she asked if I could make her dress for her and my brother's wedding, to which I casually agreed. However, during the process of making the gowns, my experience with her was quite unpleasant. She constantly requested changes even after we had finalized the designs and I had already begun making the dresses. She frequently canceled fittings and complained about the appearance, claiming it looked unprofessional and tacky. At one point, she even intentionally ripped the fabric when I informed her that I couldn't make any further alterations. This forced me to search for more of the same fabric in the correct color, which proved to be a challenging task as the store no longer carried it. My brother proposed 2 weeks ago, and the first thing my new sister-in-law did was come over to me and ask when we could meet to start designing. Now, at this point in my career, I have dealt with my fair share of bridezillas and control freaks, and I know how to handle them. So, I let her know a time she could come to my studio for a consultation. Last week was her appointment, and she came in all excited, but when I brought out my pricings and options for her, she got really mad, saying it wasn't fair to expect her to pay when we were family, and I had given other family members their dresses for free. I told her nicely that I charged for my work, just like any other vendor she would hire for her wedding. I also mentioned that we could look at the most affordable package I have if she was concerned about the cost. At this point, she totally lost it, screaming at me that I'm a worthless jerk whose work isn't even good enough for her. She even claimed that she was doing me a favor by letting me have this opportunity. I tried to calm her down so we could talk, but she just got worse. She knocked over one of my display cases, shattering glass, beads, and expensive jewelry all over the floor. That's when I was done, and I yelled at her to get out of my studio before I called the police. Later that day, my brother called me and yelled at me for being so disgusting and unwelcoming to his fiancée. I explained to him that I am more than happy to make her gown, as well as the bridesmaids' gowns, but I expect to be paid for my work. However, he got even more upset and said that I had done our sister's dresses for free, so I should do this one for free too. Now, my parents and brother are mad at me, threatening to leave me out of the wedding if I don't make her a free dress. But I still think I should be paid for my work. Am I the jerk? It's unfortunate that the situation has caused strained relationships within the family, but it's important to recognize the value of the author's skills and the time and effort required to create a wedding dress. Ultimately, fair compensation for their work should be respected and acknowledged. Widow accuses me of purposefully offing her husband with a sausage biscuit. Hi everyone, I'm new to posting and am unsure if this counts as entitlement, so bear with me. Little did I know that serving that seemingly innocent breakfast item would plunge me into a whirlwind of accusations, grief, and guilt. Here's how it all went down. Hi everyone, I'm new to posting and am unsure if this counts as entitlement, so bear with me. I, 25 male, have been working since I was 16, and my first ever job was one that many people share, McDonald's. Anyone who has worked there, even for a short amount of time, undoubtedly has stories, myself included. This one is definitely in my top 3 most ridiculous, and I've been racking my brain trying to figure out which one to tell on these subreddits. I was probably about 17 when this happened, and at the time, I was doing opening shifts on weekends. The location I worked at was just beyond a golf country club that catered to the local retirement community. So every morning we would see the same group of older people more or less. One regular, we'll call him Ed, I served almost every time I opened the store, and his order was very simple and one I've never been able to forget because of this. Sausage biscuit and at least 8 grape jelly packets. Ed was a large man. He had a hard time even getting in the door some mornings as he was always out of breath just making the trip from his car, and I would guess he was only in his mid-60s. Otherwise, he was a very standard older gentleman, with the exception of his elaborate medical alert bracelet that I had noticed many times before. I didn't really notice when he was gone for a while, if I'm being honest. He wasn't an everyday sort of regular, and we weren't even on conversational terms beyond the customer service script of hi, bye, have a good day. However, the next time I saw him, he was in bad enough shape that even I had to ask him if he was alright. He was wheezing just coming up to the counter and coughing whenever he spoke, and I got the gist that he had just been in the hospital. I knew what he wanted, so I just told him I got it, and not to worry about saying it. But before he could pay, a woman rushes in from outside and starts talking rapidly. It's pretty clear she's his wife, and definitely of the trophy variety. Big hair, nice manicure, sparkly jewelry, at least a decade younger if not more. She's frantic, begging him not to get his breakfast sandwich, and pleading with me not to serve him. It's super awkward, and I end up asking my manager what to do. She says we can't refuse service because someone else says to. So, I apologize, and Ed gets his food while his wife is nearly in tears telling me he's had heart issues. I think surgery as well, but I don't recall. And the doctor said he can't have any sort of cholesterol or fast food because his arteries can't take it anymore. All I could really do was apologize and leave it to Ed to try and console her, which he did not. He honestly just sort of ignored her until she went back outside. She started coming in by herself, pleading with us not to serve her husband. My heart went out to her. It was painfully clear that Ed was neglecting his health, at least according to her detailed accounts. We were in a tough spot though. Whenever I raised the issue, I was reminded that we weren't there to monitor our customers' choices. Things grew more strained each time Ed visited, his health visibly deteriorating, until one day, both he and his wife stopped coming altogether. The staff speculated, hoping against hope he'd finally heeded his wife's concerns. Sadly, that wasn't the case. Then one day, his wife returned, a picture of silent fury. Before I could even offer a word, she slammed his medical alert bracelet on the counter and let loose a storm of grief and accusation at me. It was overwhelming. Her words painted me as a villain in her husband's story. I managed an apology before our manager stepped in, allowing me to take a moment in the back room. Returning later, I found a visibly shaken manager but no sign of Ed's wife. She had demanded corporate numbers, threatening legal action, blaming our food for Ed's heart failure, and reserving particular wrath for me for not refusing service to him. Despite my manager's defense, her outburst left me feeling a heavy sense of guilt. That was the last time she came in, and as far as I know, no lawsuit materialized. The whole ordeal soured me on customer service, and I eventually moved on to a different line of work. To Ed, affectionately remembered as the sausage biscuit guy, I hope you're at peace, and that there's an endless supply of grape jelly wherever you are. I'm left with a complicated memory of your wife's fierce love, and the uncomfortable acknowledgement that, despite my intentions, I played a role, however small, in the tragedy that unfolded. This story serves as a reminder of the impact our actions can have on others, even unintentionally. It's important to approach such situations with empathy and understanding, while also respecting individual autonomy. You know, I always thought living just a hop, skip, and a jump from my mother-in-law was a win-win, especially with her being super grandma and all. But when her attention took a sharp detour after my sister-in-law's baby came along, our cozy setup turned into a cold war of favoritism and silent treatments that would put any soap opera to shame. Here's how it all went down. My mother-in-law lives just a short 10-minute drive away from me. Initially, I was thrilled about this proximity. She had a wonderful bond with my eldest son, and would often have him stay over at her place for a night every few months. As my twin newborns grew older, she started taking one of them at a time for activities about once a month. I believed she was doing what she could to assist me, and I was truly grateful. However, everything changed when my sister-in-law had a baby. Nowadays, my kids only seem to matter during holidays. Suddenly, my mother-in-law spends her time at my sister-in-law's house, cleaning, gardening, and babysitting whenever her daughter wants to do anything. She cooks for them, brings them treats, and invites them over for pizza and movie nights. While my sister-in-law works, I am a stay-at-home mom who homeschools my kids and runs a small business. I used to watch my nephew and niece during the overlap of my sister-in-law and brother-in-law's shifts. However, when I asked to be compensated for this, I was fired. My mother-in-law now has Thursdays off from work, and she invites my sister-in-law over for the entire day, providing free babysitting. My sister-in-law gets to nap, have lunch and dinner there, and even has a packed lunch for her night shift job. They call it Grandma Day. After 4 years, my 4 kids are now wondering why only their cousins get Grandma Day. My husband and I have discussed this, and it really bothers him that his mother treats his sister like a princess, but treats him as if he only exists when he can do something for her. We have decided to give her one last chance and present our side to her. We have tried before, but she always changes the conversation. We explained to her that the kids have been asking about having a Grandma Day. She looks shocked and says she doesn't have any more time to give. I clarify that I'm not asking for an additional day, but rather suggesting that we could alternate every other week so that my kids can spend time with her. However, she immediately dismisses the idea and says she probably won't do Grandma Day anyway because she's too busy. This conversation took place on Easter, and she has never missed a Grandma Day except for when she went on vacation with them to babysit. She was disgusted that I asked, but I don't think it's fair to my kids. I'm not even asking for half of what she freely offers to my sister-in-law. It feels like she's punishing me and my kids because I am a stay-at-home mom, which is my choice and my consequence. But my sister-in-law works. Shouldn't her choice have consequences too? Now my mother-in-law, her 2 daughters, and my brother-in-law are all treating us as if we were in the wrong for asking. It's been a while, and so much has happened. I'll try to give it a quick breakdown. I stopped posting hardly anything on social media because my sister-in-law would text or call my husband within a day of my posting reading into things, saying I was trashing his mother/them. I wasn't. I couldn't even post about what we did as a family on the weekends. They knew my husband doesn't have social media, and it felt like they were trying to turn him against me. Sorry guys, didn't work. I was so stressed out my doctor believes it caused me to have a small stroke last year when their lies were at a peak. I'm okay now, but it was scary at the time. Even though we knew it would be hard, when my husband's sister flew in from out of state, we spent a significant amount of time with his family so the kids could see their aunt. My therapist gave me several coping mechanisms to deal with them, mainly gray rocking, which helped a lot. I was treated fairly nice by mother-in-law starting a few days before my sister-in-law flew in. She was on her best behavior, I'm guessing so that I would keep my mouth shut during the visit. My children had only seen her at most 3 times since the Easter conversation. No apology, no attempt to share Grandma Day with my children. The visit was awful. My sister-in-law was so completely rude and unkind. The last day when I got home, I got the kids doing something and I made it to my room and I broke down and cried. My husband, who had to work 3rd shift this whole time, woke up and comforted me. He didn't want to even go and say his goodbyes to his sister-in-law that night because of their collective behavior. But I told him that it was just one more piece of ammunition they would use against us, so we went. About a month later, I wrote an unrelated caption on a picture about how healing hurts. Nothing personal, just how when you grow you see things a bit clearer and how it can hurt, but that it's worth it in the end. My husband's sister who lives far away started texting him and I the next day about how that's a slam to their mother. I had never once ever said anything bad about my mother-in-law to anyone ever. The most I ever did was post anonymously here on Reddit or talk to my husband, so guilty consciences read into it. My husband brought up how he agreed with my post and that he felt the same way. She went nuclear. That conversation ended their relationship. In this time they saw my Reddit page because I wasn't hiding anything and wanted her to know our side, seeing as she had only heard one side. She still took mother-in-law and sister-in-law's side. Baffling, I know. Thanksgiving is canceled. My husband gets a text from his mom that she was canceling Thanksgiving. He called her bluff and said she didn't have to cancel just to hide the fact that she would still have her golden child and her family over. We just wouldn't come. We had a small family Thanksgiving and our 14 years old said it was his favorite Thanksgiving ever. We didn't attend Christmas either. The smoke settles. Unbeknownst to me, my husband had gotten an opportunity to apply to a new job within the same company he works for. He had gotten several before, but he says this one just felt different. He comes home and rocks my world. This job comes with moving several states away. Never once did I ever see him moving out of state. Ever. This is the man that bought a plow truck just so he could plow his mom and sister's driveways. This is the man who would let his brother-in-law work on his sister's truck in his garage and park outside for up to a week, all because they never ordered the part they knew they needed before they stated taking it apart. This is the man who chopped wood every single year for them, but we never had a wood-burning stove. He applied and got a great offer. We decided that we needed to visit the area before we made the decision. On our way out there, his sister called, screaming and yelling at him about moving. She's a bit controlling if you haven't picked that up by now, and she saw him slipping through her fingers. The kids were in the vehicle with us and could hear everything, even though it wasn't on speakerphone and we were driving a loud diesel. My husband ended the call. We loved the area. The kids said they didn't even want to go back home. My husband and I talked extensively about the pros and cons. Never once did my in-laws enter the equation. In the end, I told him that it was his decision and that I would make it work no matter what he felt was right. He accepted, and we went home. My husband informed his mother about our plans the day after we returned home. Although his sister-in-law had already told her, he felt it was important to personally inform her. He told her that we had several months to prepare our house for sale and expressed his desire for her to visit us there. She agreed to the idea. However, over the next few months, she only stopped by our house 3 times for a few minutes each time, claiming that she happened to be driving by and saw us there. She dropped off our Christmas presents so that we could take them with us. This behavior has convinced my husband that she never had any intention of visiting and supporting him. I am banned from sister-in-law's house because this is all my fault. She then invited my whole household to my niece's birthday party except for me. This is the niece and nephew I used to watch for free for 3 years until I asked to be paid and then was fired. Story on my page. My husband put the invitation on the fridge so that our kids could see how petty their aunt was being. She had the audacity to text him for an RSVP, and he told her that if I wasn't invited, then none of us were invited. We list our house. Sister-in-law is pissed that at the price husband informs me, thinking it's way too high. We sell it for even more. We have a going away party. Mother-in-law and sister-in-law show up just to save face. It was so comical seeing them try to pretend they know anything about what we've been doing or what our plans are. People noticed and commented. The kids gave them quick hugs when they left. No tears were shed. My Mill has the audacity to hug my husband and say, "You know I don't play favorites," as her goodbye. We moved several states away and are so happy. The story offers a real and nuanced perspective on family favoritism and its fallout. It adeptly captures the emotional weight of unequal grandparental attention and the tension it breeds, culminating in the significant decision of a family to relocate in search of equilibrium and peace. If you enjoyed today's stories, check out the other videos on your screen now. Submit your own stories at you'rethejerk.com. Subscribe now, or you're definitely the jerk.